Big podcast.
I know you've heard the question, if a tree falls in a forest and nobody's there to hear it, does it make a sound? I present to you another question. If you make a podcast and nobody hears it, does it matter? The answer is yes, it does matter. It matters to you because you're a better host than you would have been if you hadn't made, because you have developed the skills that it took to make that podcast. You've gotten clearer on your topic. Even if nobody listens to it, you've become better because of that podcast. But if you want to do something similar for other people, help them. Your podcast has to reach people. That's what I'm talking about on this episode. This is Big Podcast Playbook, the marketing podcast for podcasters. This is the podcast about growing your podcast, making a podcast that matters, making a podcast that makes money, making a podcast that makes impact and gets heard. My name is David Hooper. You can find me at bigpodcast.com. I'm in the middle of a series about podcasting skills that you must have if you want a big podcast. First episode in the series, core on-mic skills, what listeners feel immediately. The second one, content and writing skills, what separates forgettable from binge-able. The third, production skills, what keeps you independent, not relying on other people to get your message out to the world. On the fourth episode, I talked about show management and booking, what keeps the machine running. And this one, growth and marketability skills, why opportunities come to you. You've seen those podcasters. They seem to have all the guests. They seem to have all the sponsors. They seem to have all the listeners. Why is that? We'll dive a little bit into that on this episode. This is where podcasts stop being just a show and become a platform. If you want to be a full-time podcaster, this is how to do it. First of all, let's talk about your positioning. So many people say, I want a podcast. What do you want a podcast about? I don't know. I just like getting on the mic and talking. Reminds me of a guy I met one time. At the time, I'd been self-employed for years, about 20 years at that point. And he came to me and he said, man, I want to work for myself. I said, well, what do you want to do? I don't know. I just want to work for myself. Man, I can't help you. I can't help you with that. That gives me nowhere to go. You see a lot of that in podcasting. I just want a podcast. Well, you better have a position. You better have a direction. And that means being clear on what the show is. On the flip side of that, being equally clear about what it is not. Once you've got an established podcast, you are going to find people coming to you with guest opportunities, with sponsorship opportunities. And sometimes these guest opportunities are good. They might even be celebrities. Oh, man, well, I got this guy who wants to come on my podcast, and he's great. He's famous. He's a great guest. I've heard him. He's got a big following. He's going to bring some people in. But is he a match for your podcast, and is he a match for the core audience that you have built? So you've got to be clear about what your show is, but equally clear on what it is not. The benefit of doing that, and when I say that, I'm talking about those two things because they work together, is that it makes it very easy when opportunities come to you to say, yes, I would like to do this, or no, I don't want to do that. This is not for me. You might have had that experience already. I don't know. Should I do it? I don't know. I think it might be cool, but I'm kind of not excited about it and whatever. There's a million things that can go on your head. You can cut it down to 500,000 when you get clear on what your show is, but equally clear on what your show is not. Think about your positioning. And you can go even deeper into this. For example, this podcast is a podcast about podcasting. What it is not is about the technical elements of podcasting, plugging in a mic, unless it is about what it is, which are the things that I mentioned at the very beginning of this episode: growing a show, making people care about your show, making sponsors care about your show, making money, making impact. That's the filter that I've got. And if plugging a mic in is going to help you do that, okay, well, we'll talk about a mic. And sometimes we do, because people are judging you based on the way that you sound. If you don't sound good, it doesn't matter what your words are because they're not going to listen to you. If they can't hear you while they're driving in their car at 60 miles an hour because of road noise, because you haven't recorded yourself properly, that is a problem for getting your message out there. So yeah, sometimes we're going to talk about microphones and audio quality, but most of the time, that is not what I discuss here. Your podcast has something very similar to that. Get clear on what your podcast is and what it is not. Audience relationship building. Are you speaking with listeners or are you speaking at them? Hello, radio public. People talk about, oh, my public or my fans. Think about the old 20s and 30s actresses. Oh, I just love the fans. And sometimes you'll see this I see it in wrestling a lot. Oh, the fans. I love the fans. And you'll sometimes see it in social media from guys who really don't have media training. Well, I just want to get in front of the fans. Like they go to a social media convention, for example. These are people that are new. They've built some kind of audience, usually on like a Haktua moment, something that was funny. And like, oh, I'm kind of curious, I'll follow that person. That person is attractive. That person is funny, had one good joke, one funny video. But they really haven't done what it takes to sustain that. And speaking of the Haktua girl, she's a perfect example of that. Where is she now? She wasn't able to sustain it. Those people come and those people go. That is because a lot of times they simply haven't thought of these things. One, clear on what they are, who they are, and equally clear on what they aren't or who they're not. But also thinking about this us and them thing, meaning that there's me, I'm the social media king, the TikTok queen, the podcasting guru, the guy with a microphone, and then there's you, standing at the bottom of the mountain, which sometimes I come down from, to give you a little bitty piece of what I've got. Maybe 15, 30 seconds, a funny joke, something that probably somebody else has done, and I'm doing my own version of it. A dance, a joke, lip syncing to some kind of funny movie line. You've seen it all. That doesn't last. One of the reasons it doesn't last is because you're not engaging with listeners. You're speaking at listeners, speaking at viewers. Relationship building with your audience, that's no different from relationship building with a spouse. There's give and there's take. That audience is as important as you are. It's almost as if you've got a call-in show or something where you're reading letters and you respond to them. Even if they're not calling in, even if they're not writing you letters, they are still contributing to the energy around your podcast. And when I say energy, I don't mean in a woo-woo way, but it's like I said at the very beginning of this. Does your podcast exist if nobody listens to it? Does it matter? To you, but not to anybody else. And if you want to make money, if you want to have an audience where you can do other things, such as write a book, such as do public speaking, such as anything that would require an audience or make good use of their money, you've got to have these things. One of the things that I see, and this is so embarrassing, a lot of people think they've got a bigger audience than they do. Get on there and blow up those lines, man. Blow up the comment section, like and subscribe, and crickets. You want to be able to encourage participation without begging. If you want participation, it's helpful to encourage that. You want to let people know what you want from them. They're not going to read your mind. But also, you can't be too aggressive about it, man. Don't be so thirsty. Don't beg. And you see that a lot on social media campaigns. I just saw one. It's so sad. It's a GoFundMe thing. Financial hardship. We see those things all the time. Oh, I got my GoFundMe campaign. Come on, like every 10 minutes, this guy's, please donate, please. Like, I'm having a hard time. I really need to get this money. You see it with sales and you see it with listeners. Please like and subscribe. Tell your friends. That's not attractive. To take it back to a dating relationship, think about your spouse, your significant other, somebody you got a crush on. If somebody's too desperate, you think, whoa. What's wrong with this? Listeners don't like that either. With that said, you do want to make listeners feel recognized. How can you do that? One of the things that I see a lot is acknowledging listeners, a lot of times through reading reviews, and that's okay. That's okay. Maybe one review. Hey, I got a review from Animal Style. He says this. Boom, boom. Hey, thanks for listening, Animal Style. Really appreciate it. If you're going to do that, there's a 3-step process for this. And this is for anything that you do, really. You get in, be good, and get gone. Don't go on and on and on about it. It is nice social proof, but it is not something you want to lean on so heavily. I've seen people go through 5 or 10 of these things, trying to drum up support from listeners, trying to give them a little bit of a bone by mentioning them on the podcast. To me, I think it falls flat. It makes you look desperate for reviews. With that said, hey, man, go to Apple Podcasts and throw me a bone. Big podcast playbook. Maybe I'll read it on the next episode. You do want to make listeners feel recognized. One of the ways you can do that, Hey, I saw a post from Animal Style. He asked this. You can do something like a Q&A. You can say, hey, thanks, Animal Style. Saw your message. You out there. If you want to see it, I put it on the show Instagram. It was a funny clip. I think you're going to like it. Something that's related to your podcast, making listeners feel recognized is great. I talk about the book that I've got coming out. One of the things I'm going to have, and I do this with every book, I've got an acknowledgments page. Thank you for your help reviewing the audiobook, being a beta reader. Thank you for this idea. People along the way who have helped me, I do acknowledge them. It feels good. I still remember the very first CD that I got. This is when I was in the music industry. We were still doing CDs. I was in the liner notes and they mentioned my name, and you don't forget it, man. And I still like seeing my name mentioned in liner notes, acknowledgments, sometimes as an example in books. I try to do that with listeners of this podcast, by the way. One of the things I've been doing over the last few years as I've been working on this book is I'm asking for stories from you, from Big Podcast Playbook listeners. I will come up on something, I'll need an example. I say, hey, do you have an example of this? And you guys have responded. And that goes in the book. Again, this is a two-way street. I record this podcast, but you are an equal part of it. And think about that with your podcast. It is not a one-way transmission. As far as promotion strategy, I don't do video. If I were to do video, and by the way, this is going to work on any social media, I would just do clips. Just clips. Somebody reached out to me about producing a podcast. And by podcast, there is an audio version, but it is very heavy on YouTube. I would call them a YouTuber. It's 2 hours long. I found a listener. I said, let me ask you something. Are you listening to the audio or are you watching the video? And she says, I'm listening to the audio. All right, that's one thing. That's good info. I could have guessed it. It's why I'm an audio first guy. Do you ever watch it on YouTube? She said, no. Most people don't. You're not going to sit there and watch 2 hours of a talking head video. However, what you will watch on YouTube is maybe a Q&A. And by that, I mean one question, one answer, a clip, maybe just a funny clip. The Hawk 2 girl, ha, 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 15 seconds, we're in and out. Get in, be good, get gone. And then you can comment on it. That's the big advantage of YouTube. So pulling clips that actually convert as far as a promotion strategy, that is helpful. And YouTube is a great place to push clips. Are you doing video? If you are doing video, that is the way that I would use it. By the way, for any of this stuff, any kind of clip you've got, whether it's YouTube or social media, write captions that match the audio. All your stuff should match the audio. All your stuff should be congruent. This is one of the things you see on YouTube all the time is this great polished intro, the big voice, the big music. Then they cut to some talking heads done via Zoom. It's like, oh, hey guys, hey, we're is the podcast, is this thing on? I go, hey John, hey, how you been? Oh, I'm great, Bill. Yeah, what you been up to? That's not a match. It's like listening to a rock and roll station. Make cue some music for this. We rock so fucking hard, nobody rocks fucking harder than us. And then cut into James Taylor record. Fleetwood Mac. No, but we hear it all the time, and you definitely see it on YouTube. By the way, speaking of promotion strategy, people overrate social media. Social media's got a very quick half-life, meaning that, yeah, maybe 5 or 10 people will see it right now, but in a minute or two, it's going to go down to 1. In a minute or two, go down to 0.2 people. I mean, people spend so much time on social media. It has been hyped for, 20 years. They used to call it social marketing, social networking, whatever you call it. Does it work? Not for most people. The clips are best. The best thing you can do if you want to grow your podcast and really engage an audience is live events. Second best thing, go to people who already have an audience. Guest swaps, segment swaps. I don't do much on this podcast in the way of bringing guests in, but when I do bring guests in, because this is a podcast for podcasting, I am bringing other podcasters in. Because they have a podcast, sometimes they bring me on. Now, when I say guest swaps, that probably isn't the right word for that. Bringing guests who already have some kind of audience. That can be helpful. Who already have some kind of outlet. That can be helpful. But I never do this quid pro quo thing where, hey, why don't we do a swap? You come on my show, I'll come on your show. No, it needs to stand on its own. Yeah, maybe that happens sometimes, but it's 2 separate columns. It's not a single deal. There are a lot of people I'd go on their shows, but I would not have them here. It's not because I'm a dick. It's because I care about you. They are not a match for what I do here. And because of that, they are not a match for you and the reason that you listen. With that said, in general, I love a big network. I love people helping people out. I like the idea of segments. I do them all the time. I'm actively looking for people to produce segments for me. Not just on this show, but on other shows that I work on. Actively. And the reason I'm doing that is because it's very easy for me to do. 90 seconds, 2 minutes, a 3-minute segment, and it brings another voice into the show. It makes it sound bigger. That's something for you to consider. You want your show to sound bigger? Bring in more voices. Those letters that I'm talking about, have people record them, then play those tapes. That will make your show sound bigger. Again, though, you've got to understand the mutual value. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you do it. You can do a lot of things. A lot of people, they feel pressure to get an episode out every week. I talked about this in the last episode of this podcast. For the last few months, 3-4 months, I've been finishing up this book project. I have not been publishing as regularly as I would like. That is because the book project is taking priority. The book project, if you consider that I almost released this thing 3.5 years ago, it's a little behind. But what I found in years and years and years of publishing music, books, working in film and TV, radio, and podcasting is projects get out when the time is right. Not necessarily your time, but the timing of the project. A project that is meant to get out will eventually get out, just not right away. You can't rush this stuff, man. You don't want to be a perfectionist and never get it out. Perfect is the enemy of good. Perfect is the enemy of done. However, don't phone it in. It is not your job to do hours and hours of content. I know some of these social media guys, you think that it is. A lot of the YouTubers, they think that it is. But that is a slippery slope, man. I talked to a guy. This is a producer, I know. He's doing something like, let me do the math here, 9 hours a day, 3 days. So he's doing 27 hours of content over 3 days. Is the content good? I don't know. I guess he's got stuff to work with. Sometimes you never know when you're going to catch a moment. Maybe 1 or 2 things in there. But that is a huge strain on resources because he's not doing himself. He's not just leaving the camera running. He's bringing in 2 or 3 people with cameras. They've got the audio. They've got to sync up to everything. It's a lot of work for really something that doesn't have a plan. So, man, I just want you to roll the cameras. I'll leave you with this. I'm going to take it back to my days of the music industry. Studio time is expensive, or it used to be. We have gotten very spoiled because more or less we've got almost unlimited tape. I'm looking down at my portable recorder, the backup recorder. It's a Zoom F3. Right now, I've got 27 hours left on this SD card. These things, I think, 89 hours when I put them in there, something like 8 gigabytes. That's a lot of hours. Back in the day, we have 2-inch tape. So big, thick tape, it would run at 15 inches per second or 30 inches per second. That tape doesn't last long when it's going that fast. You might have 15, 30 minutes of tape. A big reel of tape. And you're talking, $200-$300 for this stuff. One like a $5 SD card that I can record 90 hours on. My point being, we have gotten so spoiled at almost unlimited recording, being able to go as I am right now in my tricked out 5x8 closet, anytime, 24 hours a day in my house, I can go and record. That we do not prepare. People don't even do outlines. I don't know, Jim, what do you want to talk about? Hey, how you been? Let's start there. And you just figure something out? No. If you're going to do that, edit it out. But you will get better results by planning. Back when we had that tape, that 15 or 30 minutes of tape that you had to record on, booking the studio, planning things out, you went in there, you rehearsed, and you knocked it out. Not so much today. The result of that, a lot of waste. You should figure that stuff out before you ever hit record, before you ever walk into the studio. If you really want to grow your podcast, that alone is a huge leverage point. Being prepared, having a filter, only putting out stuff that is worth the time of the people who are listening to you. Consider it. Hey, I want you to subscribe to this podcast. I'm finishing up this series. I've already talked about core mic skills you need to have, the things that listeners recognize immediately. Content and writing skills, what separates forgettable from bingeable. Production skills, the things that keep you independent. Show management and booking, what keeps your machine running. This episode, all about growth and marketability skills, why opportunities come to you. To sum it up, because you prepare, you show up correctly, and you deliver. The next and final episode, we're going to talk about personal sustainability, what keeps podcasters from quitting. I've been doing radio since the 90s. I started my first podcast in 2005. Why am I still here? How do I still get up every morning and get on the mic? We're going to talk about that on the next episode. If you want to make sure that you do not miss it, you can make that happen at bigpodcast.com/subscribe. The kids today, they call it follow. It's the same thing. It's not going to cost you a thing. Bigpodcast.com/subscribe. That's the page. And I've got 3 buttons for you. One for RSS, speaking of old school, one for iPhone, one for Android. Pick the one you want. You will never miss an episode. That's at bigpodcast.com/subscribe. Go there now before you forget. And I'll see you on the next episode. We'll talk about longevity, what it takes to get up and still be as excited as you were years ago. Because I'm looking down the field, man. I'm looking years down the calendar. I want you to still be here delivering great content, changing lives, making impact, and making money. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode of Big Podcast Playbook.